Hey team, welcome. Jacqui Lewis here from BN Multi. I'm the clinical nutritionist and we're meeting again. It's Tuesday night to gather on the page of BN Multivitamins to answer your weight loss surgery, nutrition and health questions. And this week we're talking iron deficiency. I always say that like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I rehearse and get ready. So every time I pause. So thank you for joining me. And tonight, of course, we're going to talk about iron because it is a big thing after weight loss surgery. And I'll talk about why it is and what to do about it and how to prevent it and why it is important to make sure that your iron levels are sufficient and how that affects the body in different ways. And I'm going to answer your questions about, there's a couple of questions in the group about iron deficiency, but there's a few others that I'll run through. I'll also announce the prizes for Transformation Tuesday, so don't miss a minute. Let me get started by sharing my, do I need to share yet? No, just going to talk about iron firstly. Did you know that up to 48% of weight loss surgery patients are iron deficient within the first year after their surgery? Did you also know that a lot of patients actually go into surgery with a few nutritional deficiencies, which if you're listening and you are getting ready for surgery, it is a really good idea, and most clinics do it, is to get your bloods checked prior to your operation just to see what's running low if there is any deficiency. There are a couple of key nutrients that do tend to prevail as deficient in obesity as well as after weight loss surgery, and they're almost similar. So iron is a big one, vitamin D is another one, and also calcium and also B12. So they're ones to look for. Bypass patients need to be aware of the fat soluble vitamins as well. So that's just a heads up. But if you are leading towards your surgery, it's a great idea to see what is on the lower side of the range and just bring them up into the healthy part of the range as well. And be aware that being in the range or being at the bottom of the range, even if you are still in range, but you're heading down towards the lower end, you could feel so much better if you were higher up in the what we call the healthy range. And also be aware that people who are having their bloods checked are usually having them done for a reason. So we're looking for what we think might be a problem. So the pool of results that we draw from to build our normal ranges are actually based on people that we suspect have deficiencies. So you can always consider that there might be you could feel better if you were higher at the end of the range, in the top end of the range rather than in the bottom. So even if you see that nutrients are slipping down lower in the range when you get your blood test results, it's a good thing to ask, you know, how much better could I feel if these were higher up in the range, even though I'm still in range. I don't think it's a good idea to wait until something falls out of range before we start to fix it, because that's very reactive. And what we're trying to do is be proactive and preventive. So that's also the idea behind your multivitamins. They are a preventative or a insurance policy against your deficiencies after weight loss surgery. So they've been made based on the research into what a weight loss surgery patient might need every day just to maintain your levels. So if you're not taking a bariatric multivitamin, it's unlikely that you would maintain the levels that you have, let alone catch anything up that's deficient. So let me get back to iron. Iron's job is to transport oxygen around the body. It's also a key ingredient in healthy blood cell formation. It's a massive support of the immune system, because obviously healthy blood cells help with healthy blood and healthy immunity. It also helps you to feel human, for want of a better word. Generally, when you're feeling, if your levels are running low, you'll notice your cognition or your executive function or your memory starts to fail you. You'll just feel foggy. You might feel like you're only getting about half of every conversation that you're having. You'll be tired. You'll find that your legs might hurt, like when you're walking upstairs and that sort of thing. There'll be an extra shortness of breath, maybe even your heart's showing you that it's low in oxygen, and that it'll mean that your heart rate will be higher. There's a huge effect. Different physical signs of iron deficiency would be like sores or cracks in your lips, maybe a swollen red tongue. Often we look at the inside of the eye, like underneath if you're going like that, we look at the color of the tissue underneath the eye. And if that's really quite pale, we suspect iron deficiency. These are signs. They're not a diagnosis by any stretch, but they're things that we then look at and think, oh, maybe that is linked. And then we put together the kind of signs and symptoms and do the further testing to confirm it. The other thing you might find is that you've got white, like your nail beds here are quite pale. So you can pinch on your finger, and you'll notice that the blood, obviously we're pushing it away, but when you release it, if it takes a long time for that color to come back, we also suspect there's a lack of circulation there, and iron deficiency can be part of that. More far-reaching effects will be funny fingernails, really flat, broad nail beds. Some people have really rigid, like you can look at the fingernails on that angle and you'll see big ridges in the nails. Some people will have spooning, which is like a convex look of the nail bed. Hair loss is a bit of a sign of iron deficiency. Iron also is a nutrient that the thyroid needs. So what you might also find is that if you're lacking in iron, your weight loss will be a little bit slower and your thyroid will be a bit sluggish. So the thyroid needs oxygen, and that's what iron will help to supply. So you can look at different ways that just one nutrient will affect the body when it's running low, and it affects quite a lot of systems. So that's how you'll feel. It's not much fun. A lot of people, even when they're having surgery now, they'll do the weight loss surgery procedure and an iron infusion if the iron is low to begin with, because once you've had the surgery, catching up iron is a long and slow process, even without weight loss surgery. Like we see teenagers and athletes and that sort of stuff who become iron deficient, and it is a significant commitment to really kind of making sure you're supplementing enough every day for at least, some people it takes 3 to 6 months, some people even more, just to start building healthy blood cells. Again, making sure that the iron is on offer. So it means supplementing with your BN multi every day to maintain your levels. Some people have higher needs for iron. Women who are menstruating or having heavy periods particularly will start to lose their iron stores if they're not supplementing enough. And that's also a key after surgery, because your iron absorption is affected. So before surgery, if your gut health is in relatively okay order, you'll probably absorb a larger amount of the iron from your food than you would after weight loss surgery. The reason for that is that iron relies on, firstly, acid. So when we're removing part of the tummy that provides you with the stomach acid, we're also removing the ability to absorb iron. Different things will block iron absorption. So we'd like to keep iron away from caffeine. So if you're drinking coffee, don't take your multivitamin with a cup of coffee, because there's a competitive arrangement between caffeine and iron. So if you are drinking coffee or tea or anything with caffeine in it, always take it about 2 hours away from anything that has an iron supplement in it as well. And that will give you your best chance of absorption. Things that increase iron absorption, particularly vitamin C. So the beauty of the BN multi is that it has the vitamin C in it and the iron, so they will support each other, and you'll end up with better absorption. If you do fall low, the blog this week in the newsletter will have a catch-up recommendation. And it also has the daily recommended doses and that sort of thing as well. I won't go into that because they are individual. If you do find your iron is low, it'd be ideal for you to be under the care of a dietitian or your GP to make sure that's being caught up in a timely manner. I think we often underestimate kind of how good we can feel. And often when iron deficiency is on the scene, you just come to think that this is your lot, and it, it's not, it's impacting your quality of life in a lot of ways, and making you kind of, ideally after weight loss surgery, looking at more exercise, more activity, that sort of stuff. But if you are iron deficient, you're certainly not going to feel like even getting out of bed. The other thing iron deficiency will do is interrupt your sleep. So you'll be exhausted and you'll want to go to sleep all day long. And then when you get to sleep, it doesn't let you stay there. So it's what we call sleep maintenance. It will interrupt your sleep. So if you're waking up in the middle of the night, it may be that's something to look at. The other thing iron deficiency will throw at you is a depressed mood, anxiety, that kind of fatigue, inability to cope with stress, that sort of stuff. Not much fun, is it? I'm not really selling iron deficiency. So the ideal is that we prevent it. Looking at other signs you might have, I think I've done all the signs. Lightheadedness, if you're bending down and standing up and you kind of go, woo, or you're seeing that kind of starry blue kind of effect as you're, if you're changing posture, if you're sitting down or crouching or whatever, and you stand up and you're a bit lightheaded. So do please check the blog this week. It comes out on the newsletter on a Wednesday. And in there is a large article about iron deficiency and how to get more iron. So foods that are richer in iron are, like, of course, red meat. That's another thing I find, is that some patients are removing red meat from the diet after surgery because sometimes it feels harder to digest, which of course, again, will lead to a further risk of iron deficiency. Vegetarian diet, their key nutrients, the problems they have mainly are iron, B12 and calcium. So vegetarian weight loss surgery patients or vegan bariatric patients need to be extraordinarily careful with their supplementation. And I would recommend more regular blood testing just to make sure that everything's tracking well and that your diet is on point, because if you're not absorbing it and then you're not eating the foods that will supplement that intake, it's a real risk of deficiency there as well. So what else? Meat, red meat, dark colored foods. So things like red kidney beans, molasses is a good form of iron. What else? Spinach, that sort of stuff. You have to watch the vegetable forms because they're not as available. So if you're looking at, how would I get, for example, 10 milligrams of iron, you might have to eat, one piece of meat, or you might need a bucket of spinach. And even that iron is not as well absorbed. So even though it's there, and they might be able to say there's 15 milligrams in that serving of spinach, it's whether your body absorbs it or not. There's a lot of phytates and different things that will block iron absorption from those foods as well, from that realm, and in the legumes and that sort of stuff as well. So I think I've covered mostly what we'll go through tonight on iron, but like I said, don't miss the blog. And I've also done a podcast on iron deficiency as well. If you are feeling any of the things I've explained tonight, it's better to act sooner rather than later, because catching up is not easy. And with the iron infusions, ideally, they are something we use, a couple of times if we need to catch up from things that have really gotten away with us. But ideally, the approach would be to, maintain your levels once you've ascertained that good, healthy range again, to not just have to continually go back in and have iron infusion all the time. And the iron infusions are good because they're a large dose of iron and they bypass, you don't have to ingest the iron. Obviously, it goes straight into the bloodstream. But they can be a bit hard on the body. So it's, prevention is always better than cure, I say. So that is iron. We've covered that. I'll just have a look. There's a couple of questions here. Of course, I've shut it. two screens and there it is. Here we go. I'll just bring up the Zoom again and share the screen. I'll also answer the brain fit question from Friday. I thought that was particularly good. And some of the inventive answers people were coming up over the weekend are pretty funny. Share this one. So this week's brain fit, a man looks out of a window. He is desperate to open it, yet he knows this could kill him. Why? The answer was he's in a submarine and he's suffering claustrophobia. There were a range of answers similar to his wife had asked him to, and he knew what was best for him. There were some quite creative answers. So if you're in the group, you can check that out. Here's a question from Joanne. I need help so bad. I'll get my iron levels up and I can't have an infusion. It's really playing a role in how I live at the moment. That's a tricky one. And it all comes down to, the other thing I was going to say about that is that your gut health is a major player in how well you'll absorb iron. And there are studies to show that a probiotic with iron supplement is a helpful thing. There's also a little bit more research around how we dose iron, and it can be split up into every second day dosing. We're working out whether large doses for this catch-up phase every second day are more effective. When you're putting in a lot of iron, you can also trip a special enzyme I think it's an enzyme. It's called hepcidin. And when iron is on the scene, it can, in large quantities, iron is obviously toxic, which is why we never give excess iron unless we've tested and there's deficiency there. So don't ever put iron in just because you think you need more. Always base your iron intake on your bloods, because if you're putting it in and you don't need it, it can become toxic, which is why the bottles that any iron supplement over about 18 milligrams comes with a secure lid or a childproof lid, because it can be toxic. So yes, looking after your gut health, taking a probiotic, really just cutting out processed foods and working solidly on repair of the gut, and obviously foods that are going to boost your iron intake. Looking at the different forms of iron supplement is another one. Our BN multi-iron supplement is ferrous fumarate, and the reason for that is the research again shows that it is the best for catching up on your stores of iron. Some other forms of iron, such as the sulfates, there's another product that is an iron sulfate. It's like 100 milligram, and it's a bit gentler on the system, but the catch up in the iron storage is not as good. The other thing iron needs is cofactors or other nutrients that make it all happen. So you can't just chuck iron in and hope for the best. You need to have B12, B3, B6 on the scene to make sure it all works well. So looking at some of the iron supplements come with some B12 and B6, which is great. And some come with folate, which is good too. Obviously, your multi has all of that in it. But if you're deficient, you'll need iron on top of your multivitamin every day as well. So I can imagine it does. And I can't, some people sit in this space of feeling so depleted and exhausted and, cognitively can't get it together for a really long time before really grave action is taken or the right solution is found. Joanne, if you need more advice on that kind of thing and you'd like to contact us, just send us an email at support@bnmulti.com, and I can send you back some further info, just some suggestions and that sort of stuff, just to help you on your way and just to make sure you're getting, you've got a dietitian and that sort of stuff. So please reach out if you need to. I'd be interested to know why you can't have the iron infusion, and it could be liver related or something. Yes. So please, if we can help you out in more detail, I'm happy to do that. They'll send it on to me. Sarah is asking, I have no idea why. I'm 2 years post-op and my bloods have all been spot on, better than prior. I would generally say you've cleaned up your diet and your gut health, perhaps, and that you're taking a supplement now. So it could be something to do with that. It could also be the B12 that the bariatric multis and ours have a really good dose of B12 in it. So it could be that those cofactors were missing before surgery, and now that you've got everything together, you're able to absorb it better. So overall, the other thing that will work for you in your favor is when inflammation is lower. So after surgery, that starts to go down and then everything starts to work a bit better. So that it could be that it's just a biochemical change or benefit that you're seeing, and that everything's working a little bit better. It's likely your diet has improved and the supplements are helping as well. What else have we got? Rose said, I had low iron before surgery, then I had an iron infusion. It's the best I've ever been. Yeah, and sometimes that's what it takes, is just that boost and then maintenance. And I wouldn't recommend boost and then back off and not supplement or look after it, and then always reacting with an infusion. But absolutely, people, you just sometimes you don't know what's on offer when you have been deficient or even low. Some people just don't know how good you can feel, and it gives you a whole new lease on life as well. The other thing you'll find, just as a sideline, is that if there's infection or inflammation on the scene, people's ferritin levels, which is an indicator of your iron storage, will be higher. And the reason for that is that when there's infection or bacteria or pathogenic invasion, the body will shuttle all of the, or not all of it, but will shuttle away iron out of the blood and store it in the liver. And the reason for that is that the iron often will help to breed the infection. So the body's smart enough to go, well, we don't want that happening, so we'll sequester all of the iron back to the liver. And when the infection is subsiding and things are calming down, your ferritin levels should drop again as well. So if you've got really high ferritin, it's often a sign that there's inflammation or infection on the scene. Just a side note. Group question, Tim Tam. Tim Tam, I'm 4 weeks post-sleeve. I'm still having terrible trouble with food and drink. Is it still so painful when I try to have food, to the point where I have to force myself to try and eat? It feels like everything gets stuck in my throat. Is it a form of reflux? Due to this, I think I'm also losing weight too quickly and definitely not getting enough protein for my muscles. So I'm glad you're aware of that. Any tips would be appreciated. Does this type of thing normally get better? I'm only having pureed and soup, and it's 4 weeks post. Those sorts of things I wouldn't sit around on. It could be a transient issue that will resolve itself, but in this kind of situation, I would never sit around wondering. Always talk to your team. If you've got any kind of weird pain or things that feel like you have to force them down, it's better to be always safe than sorry, and your team will feel the same way. So if you ask early, they're not going to go, oh my God, don't bother us with these questions. They're going to really, be interested to see that everything's okay for you, but you need to reach out early. And it's the same with anything that's happening that you're unsure of, or if something changes quite quickly, or you're not, you're experiencing something new. Always, the other thing it does is reduces your stress levels once you know that things are okay, and that'll help you get better in a heartbeat, because reducing stress is a key to healing and letting your body manage itself without all the worry and the backstory of that. So anything like that, I would definitely not wait for it to resolve itself. I would certainly get someone to have a look. Michelle, does anyone have a problem with milk curdling in their stomach? I can't remember it happening before my sleeve, but certainly since then, from 2019, very regularly I have a latte or hot milk drink. It curdles badly to the point that I need to be sick. I've changed to lactose free, and it doesn't matter whether it's low fat or full fat. Some people do find they've got a sensitivity to dairy after surgery, and sometimes again it's transient, and other times it's can be permanent, and it depends. There's an enzyme we need to break down lactose called lactase, and sometimes there's not enough of that. As far as curdling, I don't know if it just looks curdled because it's been mixed with acid and digestive juices and that sort of thing. Generally, it's a rejection. So it can be that there is a sensitivity there to dairy at the moment. And I would say you can do a couple of things. You can try different, you could try A2 milk. You can also try like goat's milk or smaller animals, sheep, goats, that sort of thing. They're easier to digest. Camel milk's a bit of a thing. If you've got $20 a litre, you could try that out. But yeah, it is sometimes transient and it may settle down, but this is gone on for a couple of years now. So it may be that that's how it is. The lack of enzymatic activity, sometimes with bypass, will bring these kind of things up. You can try adding supplemental digestive enzymes. I'd do your own reading or go and see someone who knows about those. And you can just pick them up in the chemist, but they have all those enzymes in it that will help with breaking down those proteins as well. So they're my suggestions. The other thing is, again, gut health, good old gut health, and you know, the ability to deal with an assault like a glass of milk. But it's, yeah, it certainly can come up after surgery. Michelle is asking, I'm 2 years post-op and I'm quite sick with a respiratory infection. Is it safe to up the dose of my multi until I'm better? That kind of thing, for a very short period, doesn't often do you any harm. It's not I can't really recommend yes or no in this kind of forum, but generally the research is the research into, you know, B group, vitamin C, more protein, more water when you're not well is always going to help you. So you could put in some vitamin C alongside your multi. You could, for, you know, 2 or 3 days, you could take an extra one of your multivitamin, and I doubt you'd see much adverse effect. But yeah, you can just pick up different single nutrients, and that might be a way of just getting in more of the specific nutrients you need. Protein is great for the immune system. So is vitamin C. B group are a king of the immune system as well. So is iron. So all of those sorts of things, you know, if you have enough of them on board, you will find that recovery is a little bit faster. Other things like olive leaf extract and that sort of thing, or garlic, cooking with lots of, you know, onions and garlic and making really rich soups with a really healthy broth is a good way of healing as well. So don't always go straight for more supplements. Look at the food that you're eating and how you can bring that into line with, you know, immune system and good health. So fresh herbs and spices, that sort of stuff, have all got really huge benefits, as well as far as all the plant nutrients they have. So moving on to the prize for this week. Who won this? Oh, this week's good. You get to choose what you even get. Aren't we getting inventive here? So there's a $50 gift card for the Transformation Tuesday winner this week. If I call out your name, you've won the $50 gift card. All you need to do is send us an email at support@bnmulti.com and let us know that you won the prize this week. We also announced it in the group, so you'll see it, I think, on Thursday. So Paul Carroll is our winner. Oh, share. Hang on. Share this screen. Go. Here he is. This one's impressive. You mean you're all impressive. 18 months, February 2019, I've lost 50 kilos. 110 pounds or 7.8. I like the conversions. We've got every type of metric in there. My B and chewable multis are a must. I would agree with that. And surgery was on the 25th of September 2019. So good on you. That's a brilliant result. And I like the new furniture you've got there, your new exercise bike. And I like that the clothes are hanging behind it, because often that's a clothes rack, but it looks like you're getting good use out of it. So good on you. Keep up the good work, and please send us an email, support@bnmulti.com, so we can get your prize out to you. And I think that draws us to the end of the live session. Stick around this week for the news on Wednesday, and also upcoming podcasts as well are usually released on a Thursday, and we announce them in the group on a Friday. And you can subscribe to those on Spotify, on Apple, and on every worthwhile podcast platform, awlspodcast.com. So please keep your questions coming. And if you find you've got any other questions about iron deficiency or anything like that, please post them in the group and I'll answer them. And if you've got anything else, any other concerns, please send us an email. We can also, if you are lost and you need more help, we can also direct you to very helpful bariatric dietitians all around Australia. So please feel free to use us as your bouncing, what do you call it? Like your sounding board, and we'll certainly point you in the right direction. So until next week, have a wonderful week. We've got one more live, and then we've got one live that we won't have on the 23rd of June. And so we'll just do the questions in the group that week. So have a wonderful week. I'll see you soon.